Hello, it's Dev again. I tried to do something a little different than I normally do, rather than live streaming Arena and then just leaving the recording up on my channel, like the lazy way. But I decided to do a deck tech of my IRL EDH or Commander deck. I call this deck Firepower because the commander that I run is Mogis, the God of Slaughter. He's a 4 mana, 2 and 1 red and 1 black, indestructible god. And what I like about him is that at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, he deals 2 damage to that player unless they sacrifice a creature. So I'm constantly doing damage once I have him out, and he's relatively cheap to play. I can probably get him out on turn 3 if I need be, or turn 2 if I have a Soul Ring. Now, some value creatures that go along fairly well are like Rampaging Ferocidon, where players can't gain life, so this assures that my opponents who have life gain can be burned down without having to gain life. Charging Tuscadon, which doubles his damage when he deals damage to player. This will come into effect when we'll show you the other cards of the deck. Nullspine Dragon allows me to draw a whole bunch of cards once I reach that mana count. And then some lieutenants, or I guess you call them lieutenants, is Vial Smasher. Sometimes I trade him out for Mogis, since he's a little easier to cast, and sometimes he does more damage. He has an ability that allows at the first spell each turn, Vial Smasher the Fierce deals damage equal to that spell's converted mana cost. So what's great about him is that if I have him as my commander, I can play him, and then if I have a Nullspine Dragon enters the battlefield, he comes into play, I discard my hand. Well, actually, it would be, he goes on, his effect activates, this goes on the stack, and I deal 7 damage randomly to a player, or an opponent, I should say, and then his ability activates, I discard my hand, and then I draw 7 cards. So it's effectively a new hand. Usually by the time I play my Nullspine Dragon, I either have 1 or no cards in my hand, preferably none. And then another card is Kaervek the Merciless. He's a little bit more risky to play, where he's 7 mana as well, and he's only a 5/4, so he can be killed by a lot of removal. And also most people want to, because it affects everyone. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, he deals damage to that creature or player equal to that spell's converted mana cost. So basically he punishes anybody from playing Magic. This is usually immediately countered or immediately killed. But he's in this deck nonetheless, just because he does a lot of damage. Usually I just keep him in the deck and not have him as my commander, because he's a little hard to play, and he immediately gets destroyed as soon as I have him out on the field. Now, the whole point of this deck is to run every single red or black double damage spell. So, with a newer card, Insult and Injury. Insult, damage can't be prevented this turn. If a source would deal damage this turn, it deals double that damage. And then Aftermath is Injury. It deals 2 damage to the creature and 2 damage to player, so it's just a basic burn spell. Kill a creature, kill a player, or if they have 4 life. And then Dictate of the Twin Gods, Flash Enchantment for 5 mana, 2 red and a 3 of anything, where if a source would deal damage to a permanent or player, deals double. And then, of course, your classic Furnace of Wrath is basically Dictate of the Twin Gods, just without Flash. So it's always a pretty cool power play, is that I would have Mogis out, then I would play Dictate of the Twin Gods on my opponent's end step, and then I'd play Furnace of Wrath, and then Mogis would be able to attack. And he would do a lot of damage. It's 28 to be exact. If he swings in, most people would block it. And then, of course, Quest for Pure Flame. It's a quest enchantment. If you have enough quest counters, 4 to be exact, you can sacrifice it, and then any source I would deal damage to a creature or player this turn, it deals double that damage. So what's great is that I can just, even past 4 quest counters, I can just sacrifice it when it has 4 or more at any time that I need to do double damage. Then, of course, Bitter Feud, a commander card from a commander set, is that I would just choose 2 players, and if a source controlled by one of the chosen players deal damage to another chosen player, that player or permanent that player controls, it deals double that damage. So I would choose me and someone else that I would want to burst down. Then we would go down to Engroth's Marauders, another newer card from Ixalan. It's just a 7 mana 4/4, not very good, but it's another double damage spell. So it's just on a body. It's basically Furnace of Wrath on a body. If a source, I would, except for it's a one-sided Furnace of Wrath. It wouldn't deal double damage. Damage dealing to me wouldn't be doubled. Just to... oh wait, no. Okay, I always thought it was to other people, but no. It's actually double to anything. No, no. I was right. Yeah, if a source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player. So it's just what I control. And then, of course, Anthem of Rakdos. Pretty much the only other black double damage. So when I usually don't like it for its first ability, but for its Hellbent ability, as long as you have no cards in your hand, if a source you control would deal damage to a creature or player, it deals double that damage to that creature or player instead. So another double damage for 5 mana. Usually that's the running rate. Curse of Bloodletting, so you just enchant a player, and it's basically a Furnace of Wrath only on that selected player. Then Fire Servant, so for red, instant or sorcery, which I have a whole bunch in this deck, it just deals double that damage instead. And then Gratuitous Violence. If a creature I control would deal damage, it deals double. So I have as many double damage effects I can in this deck, and then basically I just try and burst down my opponent with double damage. So along with my Charging Tuskodon, I could swing in for like 70 damage if I have a couple double damage spells and like an Anthem of Rakdos or something. Same thing goes with Mogis. He's a 7/5, really high power, and also his passive ability gets more powerful as time goes on, the more double damage spells. But then of course my clock goes up as well if I have those Wrath effects out. So I have cards such as Burn at the Stake. If I have several creatures out, I can tap those creatures, and then it deals damage to target creature or player equal to 3 times the amount. So there's a lot of multiplication in this firepower deck. All it is just direct damage spells and certain creatures that either double the damage or do double damage to players or have high power. That's pretty much my deck, firepower. I hope you enjoyed. See you next time.